I think back to life 30 years ago and what services for blind and visually impaired Iowans were like 30 years ago, we had a lot to brag about at that time in terms of the Iowa Department for the Blind and the services it has to offer. But we also had a great concern that there was a huge segment of the population that we weren't able to reach. That population were those older individuals who were experiencing a significant loss of vision, and were beginning to be concerned about their ability to stay active and to stay independent and self-reliant in their own homes. We weren't able to reach them. We didn't have money available to dedicate to services for this particular population. 30 years ago that changed, and we began to develop a program and implement a program of independent living services for older individuals, as well as those individuals who have severe secondary disabilities in combination with blindness. They, because of their disabilities, weren't vocationally oriented, but they could benefit from the services we had to offer in terms of making gains in their personal independence. We had 4 teachers to travel the state to deliver services in their homes and communities, and we were kept pretty busy, and as the years went by, we became busier and busier as our referrals increased, and as the years went by, success stories really accumulated. It was a lot of fun to see older individuals begin to discover that just because of vision loss, they didn't need to worry about being dependent on family and friends or giving up their homes or moving into assisted living, that they could continue to control their own lives, take care of their own needs, and contribute to family and be active in their communities. And there are so many stories that I can look back on over those past 30 years and see where we've made a huge difference in the lives of the people that we've been able to touch.
There's, the thing that makes an impact to me is, if I tell a person that they can still do something and teach them how to do it, and their face lights up and they smile and they start saying, expressing how happy they are, that's a success story to me in its own way.
To me, it's the best thing that's ever happened.
I had Terry Polbergs used to come to my house once every week for a while. Then I came down here, and he talked me into coming and staying at the Department for the Blind. And I stayed here for 1 week. And I learned a little bit about Braille. I learned a little bit about cane. I'm not very good at it. I'm not very good at Braille. Being older, it's a little difficult. I had a lot of hobbies, a lot of things, tools and sports and things like that. And I learned also how to cook. I learned how to feel, and through smell and feel, how to cook things and do things.
I had no love for crafts at all. And so when it came to the craft class, I thought, I'd just soon not do that. But the more I got involved in it, and of course I couldn't see a thing and didn't know a thing, and so I ended up making a real attractive flower centerpiece thing. And it was made out of pencils. But I still have it on a table. This was several years ago, but I still have it, and it means a lot to me. Well, it symbolized the fact that even though I didn't really like what I was going to do, and I didn't think I could do it, that I found out I could, and I could learn to do some different things.
This program is really important for people in Iowa because when I have real life experiences, when I go out and I see people who are losing their vision and they think their life is over and they're just going to sit there and let everything pass them by with that I can't do this attitude. And just by me going in there and having a more positive attitude about the vision loss and maybe showing them one simple way to be able to use their microwave by putting a little dot on it that they can feel. The fact that I can walk away and give them that, and they can say, I feel better about staying here in my house by myself, or being able to make popcorn in the evening, or a lot of times giving them the library services. So that's true fulfillment for me when I walk out of that house.
Certainly one of the most rewarding ones has been Lenore Barnes. She's a very quiet person, but very intelligent, and she just loves learning. And so when macular degeneration was taking away her vision, she realized that she wanted to do more than just shrink into doing less and less and less because she couldn't see well enough anymore. And so she timidly came up to me and said, "I would like to learn Braille." And of course, I was very glad for this, and she was very dedicated to learning it. She learned the whole Braille literary code and proceeded for the next 5-6 years to read it. She'd take books out of the library. She wasn't fast, but she kept on reading those books and was getting enjoyment out of that. I didn't mention that she started learning this when she was age 88.
Most every day we can celebrate small successes with our clients. We provide very simple tips and training that can make a big difference in their home life, from the very basics of being able to make breakfast for themselves to walking around the community safely, and that just makes a big difference in that person's confidence.
From simple little things like people who used to love to crochet and crocheted Afghans for family members, and family began to expect whenever there was a new baby in the family that grandma was going to crochet an Afghan. And then when grandma began to experience vision loss, one of the first things she felt she could no longer do was crochet those Afghans. That was a loss to her and a loss to the family. And it was really exciting to see that turn around as she discovered that, in fact, she could continue to crochet. And she got back in the business of making those baby Afghans. It was really exciting.
It's so wonderful to go into a home and maybe somebody's just really scared because of the whole vision loss thing, and feeling like they're not going to be able to do much. And what's so nice is when you see somebody who says, "Well, I used to sew, but I can't do that anymore." And so next thing you know, you're having them thread needles and practice doing a hem, and then they're threading their sewing machine, and then they're sewing up seams, and then they're making different things. I have a lady who is back to making quilts, and she never thought that she was going to do that again.
Barbara's helped me with a lot of things to make it easier for me to do my work more efficiently, like putting my buttons on the washer and dryer so I know where on and off is, and on my stove where the buttons are for on and off. And she's helped me with all those things and provided me with aids and devices so that I can make my life a lot easier.
The integrity of the program has always been superlative. So I don't think you can get more superlative. People have been helped tremendously by it. I've seen folks able to stay in their homes. I personally worked with a guy who was living in a nursing home for almost 7 years, who didn't think he had any options. And he's now living independently in his own apartment. So that, for me, was a huge milestone. I was glad to help him with that.
When I first started losing considerable vision, I really felt I didn't really like the idea too much, and I did find out that I could cope with it. I did find out that my life wasn't over.
There's a moment when a kind of a light bulb goes off for them, that when they're able to do something that they thought was impossible, that is now very much possible. And I enjoy seeing that, being a part of that moment.
I had a client who I probably started working with maybe 5 years ago, and I saw her in her home, and she really was just beginning to have some trouble. Didn't think she needed much, but just wanted to know what was available. And I talked her into coming in for senior orientation, and that really made a big difference in her life. She was she was an orphan, as a child, and so she pretty much had to fend for herself, and she went through the system, and so she was pretty tough and not willing to let people get real close to people. But that connections that she made during senior orientation, I think, was really beneficial for her, and she was able to open up and to really connect with some folks. And now she's halfway through the Braille and labeling some things, and she lives alone still, and she does her own cooking, and she does her own housework and her own laundry and everything. Now she's doing very well.
There is an assurance that comes on you from working down in the working on a saw downstairs. There is an assurance that when you get out and walk, that you're going to be all right. You know, those that are around me are starting to learn to just let me alone, because I'll make it wherever I'm going to go, and because I think they're now assured that I can do whatever I want to do.
For me, the really neat thing is meeting somebody who says, "Oh, I can't cook anymore. I have to be led around. I can't do my crafts anymore." And then with continued visits and lessons, it's almost like a light switch goes on. You know, the person says, "Hey, I can do this stuff," and I never thought I could. And the tears that started because of depression are now tears of gratitude.
I had a lady, when I went to see her, she was in a nursing home and pretty much just sat by herself in her room and wasn't really interested in anything and was pretty bitter with life. And we started doing some crafts and things, and she is still at the care center, but over the last few years she's actually entered a lot of projects in the state fair and has a whole wall full of blue ribbons that she's gotten, and she gets orders from people there in town as to crafts that they want her to make for them, and she's able to make a little money on the side, and it's just been amazing to see how her life has improved just in that simple way.
The program has really benefited from Iowa. Because I believe Iowans have a strong independent spirit, and that spirit of independence causes people to be open to the kinds of services that we have to offer and open to our message of independence.
Get a hold of the Iowa Department of Mind. They will help you. They will make you feel better about what you've got, that you're not the only person. And that's, to me, that's what I do and what I say, and to a lot of people.
It's just scary to think of the number of people that we're not getting to that need the services, that are going into a nursing home before they have to, or relying on others to help them do things, and feeling that loss of control and loss of independence. And I think it's very important to make sure people understand that they can still be independent and be the person that they've always been.
At least it gave me hope that there's something out there for help, because all the doctor ever said was there's no cure. There's no cure, and just get used to it. There's no cure. I feel so blessed because I know there is a way that you can live independently and still, take care of your household duties and make your bed and all this kind of stuff, even though you don't have your vision as good as you'd like.
I think it's a wonderful idea. I think it's good for everybody to learn how to be independent, to learn how to do things for themselves.